And we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we're going to now get into talking about Liam Coen and him going to Jacksonville. He will be the next head coach for the Jaguars. So let's kind of get into that discussion. So, kind of an interesting, and I said this yesterday, an interesting sequence of events. So, with the Jaguars, you had Ben Johnson, he took himself out. Liam Coen took himself out of the Jaguars head coaching search. And then all of a sudden, the Jaguars, they let go of Trent Baalke, their GM. And then we find out, last night that, Liam Coen might be taking the job after all. And this is after he goes back to Tampa and they sign him to a new deal. But now, he says, not so fast. I'm going back to Jacksonville. I'm going to try to get this job. Or I'm going to get this job. And he ended up getting it. And it's interesting because that happened almost immediately after the Jaguars let go of Trent Baalke. So is it because Liam Coen didn't want to work with Trent Baalke? I don't know. Now, Trent Baalke was not great for the Jaguars. I mean, you look at some of the, draft choices and, free agency moves. Some of them really haven't panned out. They took Trayvon Walker over Aiden Hutchinson, and look at how that's panned out. Some of the moves that they made to surround Trevor Lawrence. They brought in Gabe Davis, and that really has been a move that hasn't panned out. They signed Christian Kirk to that big deal, and last year he was hurt pretty much the whole year. Evan Ingram, same thing. He was hurt. They signed. I believe they signed him to an extension, and last year he was hurt. Travis Etienne was one of his draft picks, and he had a very disappointing year last year. And previous year he was one of the better running backs in the league. But you could say, well, he drafted Brian Thomas Jr., and Brian Thomas Jr. looks like an absolute stud after his rookie season, but they needed to make a change there. And again, I don't know if that was the reason why Liam Coen changed his mind when he saw that, Trent Baalke's not there anymore. But I will say this could be a good hire for the Jaguars. Liam Coen did a nice job as the offensive coordinator with the Buccaneers. He got a lot out of that offense. Baker Mayfield, another solid year for him. The Bucs offense last year, or in 2024, after finishing 23rd in yards per game and 20th in points per game in 2023, the Buccaneers climbed all the way up to 3rd in yards, so they averaged 399.6 yards, and 4th in points, 29.5 in 2024. And Baker Mayfield had a solid year, 41 touchdowns on the season, or 40-plus touchdowns on the season. So you hope that they can get that out of Trevor Lawrence or something similar to that. But we'll have to wait and see. That's why I like the hire, because this could be good for Trevor Lawrence and his growth. Because Trevor Lawrence, he's been a disappointment. We want to see more out of him. And this is a big year. Or 2025 is a big year for him. Because he's kind of, the rookie year, that was a disaster. But 2022 was promising. They made the playoffs. They won a playoff game. And it looked like they were going to build off of that. And then 2023 happens. They get off to a good start. And then they just collapsed at the end of the year. And then they just never recovered. Because 2024 was a disaster from the start. But it's more than just Trevor Lawrence. That 2024 is not all on him. But when you're getting paid the amount of money that you're getting paid, there is more to be expected of you. And we have not seen that out of Trevor Lawrence. Now, it could also mean because, again, talent, the coaching. But, the level of play has to improve with Trevor Lawrence. And he's also gotten hurt the last couple of years, so you don't like to see that. 2025 is a big year for Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. And, Liam Coen is going to be coaching this team, and we'll see if he is the right man for the job. Now, this Jaguars team, they don't play in a tough division. You got the Titans and you got the Colts. The Texans just won it. Right now, it's the Texans. The Texans are the best team in the division. And I think, if Trevor Lawrence could go out there and have a big year, this could be the team that can, be a threat to the Texans for the division. Because at one point, for a little bit, this was the Jaguars' division. At least for 1 year. Well, yeah, it was really for 1 year. Should have been for 2. But then the Texans, they snatched it away from them last year when the Jaguars collapsed. Now it's up to the Jaguars to try to take it back. Last 2 years now, it's gone to the Texans. Now can the Jaguars get back and take it away? Well, Trevor Lawrence has to stay healthy, and he's got to play better. And I think under this new offense, Baker Mayfield had a great year. If Trevor Lawrence is that guy, then I think Trevor Lawrence should have a big year. But if you go through another year and the offense struggles and Trevor Lawrence does not play well, Jaguars might have made a mistake. And I don't want to say that because I think Trevor Lawrence could still be a good quarterback, but he really hasn't shown it on a consistent basis. And when you come out of college and you're the prospect that everybody is saying you are, a lot is expected of you. And again, didn't get drafted into the best situation early on because of everything that happened his rookie year. But 2022, again, it looked like he turned the corner. But then everything kind of just fell apart after that. And now it's like, well, now you're going into already, what is this? This is year 5? That's crazy. It's already year 5 of Trevor Lawrence. You gotta show us something. He did win a playoff game. He did do that. Now, he was awful in the first half of that playoff game, but in the second half, they came back, won the game. Trevor Lawrence has had good games, but again, we expect more out of him. When he came out of college, we talk about Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, those guys. Trevor Lawrence has to be in that conversation. You would have thought after he came out of college that he would be in that conversation, and he's really not. Right now, when you rank the top 10 quarterbacks, he's not in the top 10. I don't want to go through it, but he's like at least top 15. And I'd have to go and actually rank him. But now, you see what some of these other quarterbacks. Look at Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels in year 1 has taken his team to the Super Bowl. Trevor Lawrence is about to go into year 5, and he has 1 playoff win. Other than that, team has missed the playoffs all the other years that he's been the starting quarterback of the Jaguars. Now, again, not all his fault, but we got to see more out of him. There's other quarterbacks that we got to see. It's not just him, too. I did a whole segment on the top highest paid QBs. Not one of them, in the top 7, not one of them won a playoff game this year. And he was one of them. But there's others. There's others, too. Justin Herbert, he's got a lot to answer for. He's got to go out there and have a good year next year and get to the playoffs and win a playoff game. He came into the league the year before Trevor Lawrence. He's got to do the same thing. But we're talking about the Jaguars right now. And they need to surround Trevor Lawrence with talent. And look, he's got his number 1 receiver in Brian Thomas Jr. And you got, I'm going to say Travis Etienne bounces back next year. Because, or maybe the Jaguars trade him. I don't know. But Tank Bigsby showed you something this year. I think Etienne could bounce back. Maybe Chris Kirk stays healthy. Evan Ingram stays healthy. I mean, it's not like they have nothing on this team, but maybe, yeah, you add another playmaker. Wouldn't hurt. I think the defense is really where they need more work. Because a lot of the picks that Balky, flopped on was on defense. And, some free agent moves and what have you. That's where this team really needs to address. That's really where the team needs to address some of the issues, is on the defensive side of the ball. But, we in our production meeting, Trevor Lawrence was a topic of conversation a lot. And, I remember at the beginning of the year, we all said, yeah, I mean, I would take Trevor Lawrence over Tua Tagovailoa. But you know what? Well, Tua hasn't won a playoff game yet. But you know what? Tua, numbers-wise, he's been better than Trevor Lawrence. At least in the regular season. I mean, they're kind of jumbled in the same category. I still think Trevor Lawrence can be good. But how long before we say, yeah, you know what? Maybe he just isn't it. I think he still could be a very good quarterback, but this is going to be a big year for him. And look, what Liam Coen was able to do with the Bucs offense, I think he could bring that over, and it could work out here in Jacksonville. But who knows? It's more than just the offense that needs work, though. Like I said, the defense is going to need to be addressed as well. And you would think you had Trayvon Walker, who's a high draft pick, and Josh Allen, the other Josh Allen, although he doesn't go by that anymore. Was it Joshua Hines Allen, right? And then you got Eric Armstead, who that signing ended up not panning out. You would have thought and I said that I like the, what they have up front on the defensive line, but it just did not work out. Jaguars were pretty bad this year, so they're hoping for a change next year, and we'll see what happens. But let me know what you guys think, though, about this. We kind of spent the whole segment talking about it. I said we were going to talk about Pete Carroll for a little bit, but we'll see how it works out for the Jaguars. I mean, Liam Coen was a good offensive coordinator, but now it's it's a whole different animal when you're a head coach. But yeah, I kind of rambled on about that. I was going to add Pete Carroll to it a little bit, but look, we will get into Pete Carroll. We will definitely talk about Pete Carroll next week, 100%. Just kind of tough that happens now while I'm doing the show here. But I like the Pete Carroll hiring, but the Raiders are another team where there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So we're going to take our final break of the show now. When we come back, we will talk about the Super Bowl scenarios that we could possibly get, which one I would prefer, even though I kind of told you what I think is going to end up happening. And then we'll also talk about what quarterbacks are under the most pressure going into this weekend. So with that being said, for one final time today, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.